Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new Paradigm Woods and Irons from Callaway.
Well, Jordan Spieth is enjoying a two-week trip to Hawaii. He came off 13th finish at the Century Tournament of Champions last week and put in a good performance today in the opening round of the Sony Open at Waialae Country Club. You can see 6 under, 64, just one blemish on the card. That was a bogey at 13. Let's get his reaction to today.
So I would say, I started really well in 2018, 19, and maybe a couple of events in 20, where it was a day like today where I shot, 5 or 6 under to start. I think I remember doing it at Travelers one time and the PGA in 19. And I just remember thinking, I know where my game's at and I can maybe fake it as best as I can, but it's not. I don't really have great control. I used my hands really well for a couple days, conveniently the first 2 in a row. So then it's not like I didn't believe. It's more that I have a good idea of where things are at and if I have that shot or don't have that shot. And this is different. The last couple of years have been a little different, where off to a good start and I'm like, okay, I think I can improve a little to gain just a little bit more control, but I was in really good control. And for me, it's about freedom. It's not separating arms from the body and having to save shots. It's feeling like I'm in front of them and being able to hold them off and nice fluid strokes on the greens. And that's really all it comes down to. And it seems simple, but when you're still fighting the urge to want to hit it hard or fighting the urge to get over some bad habits, days like today, I'm not surprised. But what I will say is I'm confident relative to other time periods I've been off to similar starts, which is a really good place to be. I believe that I can shoot 5 or 6 under each day out here. Not to say that means it'll happen, but there's other times I'd be sitting there going, how do I hold this together, to be honest? Seriously.
Yeah, and he is honest. Interpret that for us from a golfer's mindset, what Jordan was just saying.
Well, what I took out of it is each tournament you're trying to get a little better every day. Wednesday comes around, you're trying to find a feel for Thursday. Thursday, good round. Not necessarily trying to improve your score every day, even though that would be nice. But what I took is that he really feels like he's in a position to keep improving his ball striking this week. He's comfortable with the golf course. He sounded confident, but also he was very matter-of-fact in the way he was speaking about his form and how he's been in the past after hot starts. I like what I heard out of that. He seems like he's not getting ahead of himself for the week, and he's ready to go.
Here's this kid who burst out of the scene, of course, in 2013, and then he had this incredible year and stretch really from 2015 onwards, 16, 17, and, then he had a slump. There's no doubt about it. And he was very honest and real in his slump as well. Like, who can forget at the US Open at Winged Foot, he stood up to the media before, I think, the tournament even started, or maybe it was after one of the early rounds, and said, look, it's not very nice to stand on a tee and not have any confidence in where your golf ball's going to go. So here's someone who's taken us on the journey with him, a bit like Rory McIlroy, not that he suffered a slump necessarily, but Rory's always so honest behind the microphone, like we're seeing from Jordan Spieth. This week, potentially, look, we've got the calendar year ahead of us, gives him the opportunity to win for 3 straight seasons once again. He eventually returned to that winner's circle in 2021 for the first time since 2017. Win at Valero, win at RBC Heritage last year. Off to a really good start this year. How big and important could this be for him?
Extremely. It's extremely important. You always want to start your year out well, punch that ticket back to Kapalua as soon as you can. But he's put so much work into his ball striking over the last few years. I think maybe his putting slipped a little. It's hard to, he's got a kid, he's got other commitments that he has to do. It's hard to put it all together. But I think what we're seeing now, he's longer, he's comfortable with his ball striking. What we saw today, his putter's getting back in form. I think his strokes gained putting stats have been all over the map. It's like a roller coaster the last few years. So I'm really excited about this start to this round. This is a good golf course for him. He's creative. He's good with his wedges. He's good around the greens. This course seems to be tailor-made for him when he's on form.
Because putting was so often his strength, or was undeniably his strength. And then as he tried to improve and lengthen other parts of his game, things fell away a bit on the greens. It's about seeing him put the full game and the full pieces of the puzzle together, don't you think?
It is, and we saw him make, when he was playing his best, he made a lot of long putts, made more long putts than anybody. Saw a couple nice putts out of him today on 7, which was his 16th hole, on 17 for par, which was his 8th hole. Love seeing Jordan Spieth. He's got great speed control of these greens. Clearly put the time in when he came over from Kapalua to get the speed right. And if Jordan Spieth has command of the speed on these greens, look to him to keep rolling that rock and making a lot of long putts.
And even though these courses are like night and day, Waialae is not really anything like the plantation course at Kapalua, it still helps to have a week of competitive golf under your belt. 4 days, obviously good performance. He finished 13th at the Century Tournament of Champions. He said, you know, his first day or two out there felt like, you know, a long time since he had a scorecard in hand once again. So different, but perhaps slightly advantageous to be one of those in the field that was able to tee it up last week.
Absolutely. Coming off holiday season, you get a fresh start on a big ballpark, no pressure, no cut. It's always nice to have that Kapalua start going into Sony. And I think if you looked over the past results, the guys that play both, I think the guys that play Kapalua and then go to Sony have a leg up on everybody. They've got one competitive tournament under their belt while other people are trying to shake off that winter rust.
Well, someone else who had a good start today also with a 6-under 64, Chris Kirk. He's got some great history, some good memories at this place as well. He managed to save his status here a couple of years ago. It was his last start on a major medical exemption. He needed a top 3 finish, and he finished tied second thanks to getting up and down at the 72nd hole. It was incredible to see. He's back here performing well, and he spoke to our Todd Lewis.
And Chris making a 13-footer on his final hole, the par 5 night, to put an emphasis on that 64. You look at the stats, putting was a big key, it looks like, today, over 110 feet. How comfortable were you on the greens?
Yeah, especially on the second 9, I really got it rolling. It was a fun day overall. Weather's beautiful. You know, I'm definitely happy to be back here at the Sony Open. I love coming here, and this is my first week back on staff with Callaway Golf and Travis Matthews, so it's something I've been excited about over the last few months and just ready to get going.
Why wouldn't you love to come here? You've had a couple of runner-up finishes here at Waialae. What is the connectivity between you and this golf course?
I think it just suits my game. I'm not really totally sure why, but I've always been comfortable on the greens, and usually am able to drive it reasonably well out here, which is a big key. And but yeah, just, you know, knowing that I've played well here a lot of times, it just makes you feel good coming in.
You're off to a great start. What do you hope to do consistently over the next 3 days?
Yeah, just keep it rolling. Keep seeing some putts going in. You know, I mean, there's going to be some low scores the rest of the day, some low scores this afternoon, and that'll keep going. We're not forecasted to have a ton of wind, I don't think, the rest of the week, so it's going to be, you know, 20-something under, you know, so just try to keep the pedal down and try to keep making putts.
Congrats on the day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Well, Johnson knows what it's like to play well on this golf course. A former champion yourself from 2012, and Chris, as he just explained there, playing off some good memories and enjoying being back in some familiar territory. There are some other names that have caught your eye who've been playing well on this opening day also. A
lot of the Georgia Bulldogs coming hot off their victory over TCU Monday. You've got Chris Kirk up there in the lead. Harris English won back. Brian Harmon had a good day. Brendan Todd at 4 under. Russell Henley at 3 under. A lot of Georgia Bulldogs riding some momentum after watching their team win their 2nd straight national championship.
Wanting to get off to a good start in their calendar year. Of course, this is still part of the PGA Tour season that began. This is actually the last year of the wraparound season in what is a reimagined PGA Tour schedule that's going to kick off really next year. So just the last time we will be continuing the season at the start of a calendar year, but it is really a beautiful place to be. Waialae Country Club.